Thank you all for coming tonight. I think it's a very special time when we get an opportunity to actually look back at the work of one of our colleagues. I had a very long list of things to say about Jack. Some of them were complimentary. But I decided, actually, rather than listing all of his accomplishments, I want to talk a little personally about Jack. One thing is, I guess if I had a brother in architecture, it would be Jack. It's like we know a lot of the same people. We know a lot of the same projects. We agonized over the same downturns in the economy. Having practice and trying to understand the evolution of architecture over the second half of the 20th century is both a passion for Jack, but it's also a total commitment. A commitment in terms of the work, the incredible body of work that he's created, in terms of the haptic eloquence of the projects that he's done, the houses in the mountains, and in terms of his interest in finding what I call a firmness in geometry. We talk about firmness, commodity, and delight a lot. We talk about, of course, its intention. Buildings shouldn't fall down. But there's actually, and Jack and I talk a lot about these things because Jack's a pretty educated guy. I found out. I didn't realize that.
It's taken a long time.
But
some people get educated in 5 years. It took me 50 or more, right?
But apparently it all stuck because he can talk quite eloquently about the classical foundations of architecture, and that's one of those places where he and I like to joust, as well as the evolution of architecture today, and it's the ways it's gone off track, right, Jack?
In a lot of ways, yeah.
In a lot of ways, yeah. What I really like about that is his willingness to engage, and I can imagine that's also true about his willingness to engage the profession and his willingness to engage his clients, which comes out in the long relationships that he's had with many of his clients. The opportunity to look into the 20th century through Jack's career and to watch it as it's evolved now into the 21st century is a real pleasure. But I'd also like to point out something that's very important. Jack's a fellow in the AIA. It doesn't mean he's just a fellow. It means that he's in, and because he's a design fellow, he's in the top 1% of architects in this country. We're lucky to have him here, both because he's a constant intellectual challenge to all of us, students and faculty alike, but also because he brings with him this great tradition. And as I talk to my students in 121, I talk about the conceptual structure of signification, which includes architectural intentions, it includes tectonics, and it includes an aesthetic inspiration. And when I think of looking at really fundamentally touching architecture, I mean, architecture that's about its place, architecture that tries to create a gentle celebration of where it is in its time, where it is in its place in the world, how it honors the sun and its topography. I see that in the work that Jack has in the lower gallery. So please, if you get a chance, stop by the lower gallery, and in case I forget, which I often do, there's a reception immediately after. So
I think there might be some Prosecco to go work with it too.
Okay, I'll see you all later. So with that introduction, I'd like to turn it over to Jack And I like, I hope you all, I know I'm going to enjoy this because I enjoy every minute we spar, Jack. So,
I know, I love it.
So thank
Do you have 5 minutes? And he says, yeah, and then wait, 25 minutes later or so, we're
Yeah.
still talking, right?
That's
Thank you
sometimes
very
it's an
much,
hour.
Andy, for your very kind words. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want on film, so it's really dark. Yeah, all the way down to film, I think. Yeah, right. So thank you very much for coming, and thank you again, Andy, for those very kind words. Yeah, I've been working at this for a long time, and it's taken me a long time to get an education. I hope I'm still getting one, right? In fact, teaching here is really special because I think it's an interface between students and faculty both ways. It goes both ways. We learn from you, and hopefully you learn something from us. The lecture tonight is not just about architecture. It's about life. It's about a long life so far, and it's about what maybe brought me to architecture and the kind of architecture that I do. And I was brought up in Salt Lake City, and I was in the mountains, really mostly. My father was a mountaineer, and he used to take me to the high Uintas. I carried a 30-pound pack when I was 10. We would go into the Uintas at elevations of 8, 9, 10, 11,000 feet, stay there for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and carry everything that we could do on our backs. So that was a wonderful introduction to nature and to mountaineering. He also made my first pair of skis, and I started skiing when I was 3. And so he was a great inspiration. He was a scoutmaster, and he was a wonderful mountaineer. My mother was born in Escalante, Utah, and she was brought up on a ranch. And her ranch now is actually part of a national monument. Gorgeous country. And she also loved the outdoors, great horsewoman, and all that. So that was a really great introduction to the outdoors. I used to get headaches, though, as I remember, high altitude headaches. I'll bet, Mike, you probably remember getting a few high altitude headaches. When you get at 11,000 feet and you're not used to it, you get pretty blistering ones. But for the most part, it was a great experience. But that's the start of it. So the fact that I say skiing runs through it on the poster, it really does. The introduction to the mountaineering and the introduction to architecture in a way, and to my mentors, almost all of them came through either skiing or mountaineering in one way or another. So you'll see that some of these things you might think go off track, but I'm used to that. Those of you, my students, are used to hearing me go off track in the studio, but take a little side trips to Disneyland occasionally. but I think that all things together, it's hopefully comes through. So Snowbird was the principal commission that, I guess that's the largest commission I've ever had. It was basically do a whole area. But I didn't just come to Snowbird by being an architect. I wasn't actually, when I started, I wasn't even quite yet registered. So it comes about through other ways, other means, and that's mostly about people. So my mentors in both skiing and in architecture and in life, almost all of them are about 10 years older than me. And almost all of them were in the 10th Mountain Division or in some form or another in the military in the Second World War. So that will be part of the scene. So that's it. And the other thing about Snowbird is it's not all about glorious. I'm going to show you some things that actually are kind of going to be critical about it and what might have been better and what we tried to do and what worked out and what didn't work out. So it won't be just all isn't it wonderful, isn't it grand? I think because it always isn't. So that's essentially where we're going to start. That's an avalanche that killed my best friend, John Herman, 1957. He was only 26. I could have been with him. I had to work that weekend. He and I were on weekends. He was a colleague in school. He was going to be an architect. But on weekends, we worked on avalanches, and we were hired by Wasatch Enterprises, which is the Walt Disney Corporation subsidiary, to shoot avalanches. So that particular avalanche was at Berthoud Pass, and they shot what they thought would be one shoot, and 3 came down. It came down and crossed the road, killed John and 2 other people and 1 road commissioner. I think 3 or 4 people were killed. So the point is that avalanches are no joke, and they've killed way too many people. This is John with his camera. It was an Aeroflex, and but we thought we were pretty hot stuff because Disney gave us walkie-talkies and down pants and down jackets and helicopters and all that good stuff, but you know, ice axes and all those good things. But we were thinking we were pretty hot. But John was brave, and that camera rolled, as you can see, right up to the last. There's a larger film for those of you who might want to, if you're interested in avalanche control, want to see it. It shows all 3 chutes coming down, and it's a much longer film than that one, but it's pretty scary. So the week prior to that shot, I was belaying John, shooting films on the weekend on Twin Lakes Pass. And this is a shot of Twin Lakes Pass, which is in Little Cottonwood Canyon in Alta. And this is a helicopter, 1957 Bell. My first ride in a helicopter was a case of dynamite on my lap. I survived, as you can tell. But it was quite interesting because the helicopter, the ceiling is 15,000 feet, and we took off at 8,000 feet, and it was totally loaded with dynamite and skis and stuff and things, and it was overloaded. So we took off, and we couldn't quite get off as the way it's supposed to do it, and we went under a power line. That was really a little testy. But this is the cornice. So if you look at, that's the Twin Lakes cornice. Now, everybody knows what a cornice is, I assume, but when the wind blows from the windward side, it puts snow on the lee, and it builds these huge cornices. And these cornices are really, really dangerous when you get into high country, and they create avalanches if they break loose, obviously. So we were doing that on purpose. So I would put my ice axe in here and belay John. This looks like it doesn't look very steep here. It's very steep. It's very, very steep. So belay John down to here, and then he would start shooting with the Aeroflex, and then we'd hit the dynamite and blow this cornice, and that would start an avalanche. So that was kind of what we did. But this is Alta in Little Cottonwood Canyon. So it has a long history of avalanches. So you're looking at 1872 to 1911, 9 killer avalanches, 2 killer landslides, nearly 150 deaths. So this is where Snowbird is. It's just in that area. It's 1/2 mile from Alta. So to not know about where to build or how to build and so on, and not understand snow country would be a big mistake. And you can't just go as an architect to say, okay, we're going to do that. So you have to study the history. So skiing in Cottonwood Canyon, it's actually Little Cottonwood Canyon. Big Cottonwood's where Brighton is. It's just on the other side, slightly north of Little Cottonwood Canyon. And this is the kind of thing that was going on in those days. And if you look at these skis, they're really pretty long, and those bindings are not going to do much. You kind of go straight, right? But that's where it started. And I'm almost a first-generation skier. I'm almost old enough to be a first-generation skier, but I'm certainly a second-generation skier. So this is skiing in Little Cottonwood Canyon recreation, and this is kind of, I would say these people would be maybe my senior of only maybe 20 years or so. So I remember this. As I said, my father made my first pair of skis out of hickory, and I still remember that. I don't have them anymore, but it'd be fun to have them. But this is the kind of thing we had. We didn't have edges. We didn't have any decent bindings. We certainly didn't have safety bindings, and you can look at these ski poles. They're bamboo, great heavy round pieces to keep them from going through the snow. So that's kind of where we are. Now the World War II 10th Mountain Division is huge in my background. When World War II started, I was 9, but all of my mentors were 19 and 20 and 21. So they were drafted or enlisted. So the 10th Mountain Division was huge, and this is really the beginning of how skiing resorts and skiing started in this country. Is the 10th Mountain people were all of the people who really were the ski instructors, the climbing instructors, the people who put together the ski areas all across the country. And so the 10th Mountain was major. It's also pretty frightening. Many of them were killed. This is a film that those of you who are interested in this sort of thing might want to see. It's Fire on the Mountain. But it's a story really about the whole piece of the 10th Mountain Division. And there was all kinds of action in the Brenner Pass in Italy. That's the pass between Italy and Austria and Germany. And so this is a film about the 10th Mountain Division. So it was tough. They trained at Mount Hale in Colorado, being out in snow country, staying out in snow country. These packs weighed 90 pounds. So imagine skiing with a 90-pound pack on your back. Try it. They would make up songs. You know, one of them was 90 pounds of rucksack, a pound of grubber too, and he will ski the mountain like his daddy used to do. That's one of them, right? See, so they had to do that, but they had great spirit, but they also, many of them had real problems. Dan Walsh was a friend of mine. He was shot up badly, and he took his shirt off in Salt Lake one day, and I said, God, Dan, what happened to you? He had machine gun holes through his chest. He survived. But this is the kind of thing that was going on. Now, Dev Jennings, great leader. He was in the 10th Mountain. He was a squad leader, rifle squad leader. He was an instructor in skiing and in mountain climbing, and he obviously became an Olympic skier. And he was actually a coach. He was my wife's coach, and he coached me some. He was just about 8 years or so older than me, but a marvelous skier and a great leader. And he had a Ski Hall of Fame, obviously, but he started a ski shop called the Sport House. And the Sport House was a place where you could buy skis and equipment, but only for high-performance skiers. So it wasn't about catering to snow bunnies. It was about what's the latest possible thing, offset edges, certain kinds of bindings, whatever. So this is what he did, but he was a great leader in that regard. So he was a great influence and a great inspiration on me and on my late wife, Sue. So John Sugden, also 10th Mountain, he was certainly my principal and earliest mentor in architecture, but also, obviously you can see Sugden, architect, but 10th Mountain Division, Silver Star, Italy. The Silver Star is the highest award you can get in the military without dying. He climbed on the back of a German tank and dropped a hand grenade in it, saved his entire platoon. After he got out of the Army, out of the end of the war, he went directly to IIT and worked with Mies van der Rohe, became his protege, and then he became my mentor. I learned a lot from him, not only about skiing and climbing, but obviously a lot about architecture. So I'm basically one generation removed from Mies. So anyway, John was a huge influence. We worked together on Alta Lodge Edition in Alta, which is the Little Cottonwood Canyon. And obviously you can see that this is quite Miesian. Glass and steel, that's the deal, right? But it was an important building for me, and I was an associate at that point with him, so we worked together on it. But anyway, I'll mention something about this a little bit later. John wasn't involved in Snowbird because at that point I really didn't want to have glass and steel, that's the deal at Snowbird. I didn't think it was quite appropriate. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Dick Mobbett's another Olympic skier and client. I did a house for him, and I'll show you that house in a minute or two. But again, 10th Mountain Division, Olympic skier and client. Mac Fraser. This is a very interesting story, maybe a little side trip to Disneyland here. But H. McKay Fraser, I met him through skiing at the Sport House, which was more like the Sport House was right on campus. It was just across the street on 13th East. So I was a member of a fraternity, but I spent more time at the Sport House than I did the fraternity, because it was about skiing and about all these people. And they were all, as I said, 10 years older than me about. So Mac was, again, in the Army. He wasn't in the 10th Mountain, but he was in the Army, and he saw action, a lot of action. But he also was a great skier, and he, after the end of the war, he became one of the managers and lead people at Garmisch Partenkirchen, which is an R&R place. That's rest and recreation for people who were shell-shocked and so on to get out of the Army. He also became a team driver for Lotus. And when I first met him, he had an MGTC, which I still love that car. And I was just a kid, but I was old enough to drive, but that's about it. But he said, "Do you want to borrow my car?" And it's an MGTC. Are you kidding? It's the first sports car in the United States. So yeah, so he taught me to he taught me to race cars. So I raced a little bit, not at the level he did. I was on his pit crew. He had a Maserati, he had a Jaguar, he had some Ferraris, and ultimately a team driver for Lotus. Unfortunately, he was also killed in that same year, 1957. So I lost two of my best friends in the same year. I was telling Andy before I started that I was telling another friend of mine about this, and I was kind of crying, and I was saying that I'd lost two of my best friends, and I was really in trouble. And my friend he said, "Jack, I got more bad news for you." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "I don't want to be your friend anymore." So, yeah, I get it. So Mac drives this Lotus 1100, and he was in Reims, France, and he hit this very long curve, which is actually called Calvary. Calvary is a cemetery, right? So it was Calvary Turn. It's killed so many people, including Mac. But Mac was the manager of this area, Garmisch Partenkirchen, which is the Zugspitze, the highest mountain in Germany. So if you look at this piece right here, that's pretty like straight up and down, isn't it? And so all of this stuff. So he had a major background in skiing, but certainly also in racing cars. And I never raced I did race, but he taught me to race, and but I didn't race at the level he did. I was on his pit crew though, which was great fun. So again, now Bob Craig, he was in the Navy, but he was a big-time climber, and I got to know Bob really well. And he led the K2 expedition, which was a tragic expedition. If you read the story about it, they lost one of the major team people. But K2 is the second highest peak in the world, and he was a brilliant guy. He was the first director of the Aspen Institute for Walter Pepke. He started the Keystone Foundation. He worked with us on Snowbird, on that foundation, which didn't actually take off. But Bob was a great influence and great fun to ski with. So I skied with all these people, but I have to tell you, this is Jack Reddish. Now, one of the most decorated skiers still ever in the history of skiing. He won everything. He started out as the jumper. Here, as you can see, he was only about 15 or 16 off in Eckers Hill, and he won everything. He really did. I can't say I skied against him, I skied with him. But skiing against him, that's different. Nobody skied against him. He was unbelievably good. But then after that, he became a film director. He married Katie Thalberg, Irving Thalberg's daughter, and that was I think he owned MGM or something. So he got into racing too. But he also was the film director for Le Mans ski race, and which was a very literal thing that worked out. And what's the actor's name? I forgot his name. Steve McQueen, yeah. So Steve McQueen, Steve McQueen was a race car driver too, by the way, not just an actor. So was Paul Newman. So actually, they both died of lung disease from the asbestos from race car driving. So Jack shot the outdoor works for Bonnie and Clyde, for Bullet, for Le Mans, many film things. So the guy was just brilliant. So anyway, he was a huge influence. Now Matty Atwater, we were on the quarter system in University of Utah. The quarter system was great because we could take off winter quarter and not go to school. We just go skiing. So we did that. I started doing that when I was about 17 or 18. And that allowed me to meet an awful lot of these people as well. Monty Atwater was the first avalanche control in North America. And I was on his avalanche control crew. Again, Monty was 10th Mountain Division, and I think any of you know about skiing, about snow country would certainly know who he is. He's written a number of books on avalanche control. This is 10th Mountain. This is a 75 millimeter howitzer that he would have been used to. And that comes to play with later work in the snow country because this is what we did. So these are ways of bringing down avalanches. So you shoot. For instance, this one is a 105 First World War howitzer, which we bore sighted, and you just look through the tube, and you can bore sight. We actually did it one morning. We bore sighted to Superior. We missed the mountain. We went over the top, and that goes into Brighton. So you hear this cannon report on the other side, boom. And Monty said, "God, quick, get this thing in the garage." And I said, "Monty, you can't hide from this. It's not going to happen. Yeah, it's simply not going to happen." So he said, "Oh, I God, I hope I didn't kill anybody." But we did miss that cornice. But he would have learned to do this in the military. And I was in the 222nd Field Artillery when the Korean War hit, and I didn't get activated, but I did go to boot camp and all that stuff, and I wasn't a very good soldier, but I won't tell you those stories. But I did learn I was in fire directions, and also a forward observer and all that stuff. So I learned about how you do this, whatever you work that out. So like it's deflection and azimuth and certain things. So in deflection, 1 mil is like a protractor. 1 mil is 1 yard at 1,000 yards. So you can figure out where to go, and you triangulate, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, etc. About that. And so that's the way you can figure out where you're going to go, where you're going to hit it. So when we were setting up the stuff for Snowbird, I was able to help work out those. We put a cannon on a Lazy Susan, essentially, and set up the shots so that you could shoot when it was completely blind. So you'd hit this time you'd hit right, so because we had it tested. So now this is Snow Pine Lodge, and it was built right in the middle of an avalanche. This was a CCC's in 1938-39, a recovery thing from the WPA, which to get out of the Depression. And this top of this part right here was completely blown away by an avalanche. So they put a concrete roof on it. We tried to find a slide of that, but couldn't do it. So avalanches go right over this. So this is an example of putting a building in the wrong place. So it's still there, but I don't know why. But it's not there in a whole way. So this is at Alta. This brings great memories. This shot, I was there. This guy's name is Dave. He was on the ski patrol. I was the cook back here cooking hamburgers, and I would get up in the morning early, and I'd go up and I'd get the first run in powder, and then I'd go up here and I'd open the thing up and turn on the chili and get the grill going, and then I'd close it up until about, this is on a weekday, close it up until about 11:45, and then I'd go skiing. And then it was a good deal working there, right? So then I go skiing and I come back and cook a few hamburgers because not many people skied then. And then after that, it'd close down. I'd ski the rest of the afternoon, and then I'd have dinner, drinks and dinner with the guests. Not a bad job. So, however, I didn't get paid much. My bar bill was always higher than my income. But this is actually the shelter. This is up at the top of the mountain in Alta. This is the mayor. This is Mayor Watson, of the old mayor of the Alta, and this is Alf Engen, who was the famous skier, the Alf Engen Ski School. So here we are, Alf Engen Ski School, 1950-51. this is my wife, my late wife Sue, and me, and Al Finnegan over here. So we taught skiing, and we skied, and we were on the lift crew, we were on this stuff. And Sue, this is how I met Sue. I had seen her once way early, probably a year before, and I'd fallen in love just at first sight because she was driving this wonderful red convertible, and she was beautiful blonde, and I thought, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. So then I didn't see her for a year. And then I went to work up here, and I went to dinner, and she was a waitress, and that was over. It was all over. I was only 18. We were married. I was married at 19. So, but Sue was a fantastic skier. She was literally Olympic level. This is she on the left, and so when I say that I skied with these people, I never skied against them. She skied against them and won. So so she would have been on the '52 Olympic team, but she married me instead, which was a mistake. but she also got migraine headaches. So she won the Snow Cup. It was an international race, and she was 3 seconds ahead on one of them, and she missed the last gate because in migraine headaches sometimes you get split vision. So instead of going through the open gate, she went around it, so DQ'd. So, but anyway, she won tons of stuff, and you can see this is a junior ski tourney, and so on. But you can see well, obviously you'd fall in love with her, wouldn't you? So here I am. Can you imagine this skinny kid? Yeah. Yeah, that's me. This is Sue. However, I want you to look carefully. These are Molitor boots. You mortise the bottom of your wooden ski, and you put 2 yards of leather around that ski in a Dover toe, which you could never possibly get out of. If you'd fall, you either ripped up your knees or broke your legs or both, and you'd have to cut yourself out of these. But we didn't have enough support with the boots and the conditions, so if you're going to be a skier, and I was a good skier, not quite as good as she was, that's for sure. But you were totally one with the ski. One with the ski. You're totally in. So so that's where that works. And here we are on our honeymoon, 1951. So Sue looks really tired here, right? Well, she was. So was I. So you notice we got tennis shoes on, and you got like these weird pants I've got on. Molitor boots. Look at these long skis. 1951 Plymouth Suburban. We were at Lake Louise in Canada, and we hiked 7 miles up to Athabasca Glacier to ski. We got up to the glacier to ski, and it was sucked in, and they wouldn't let us go out and ski. So we hiked 7 miles back down again. And this is why Sue was dragging her skis with her long thongs before, and I said, come on, Sue, pick up those skis. We got to look good. So, but here's where we were. Look at that. This is Athabasca Glacier. So, and that's Chateau Lake Louise. And that's a real picture. I mean, that's the color of the lake. And here it is in summer. And here it is if we had been able to ski, that's what we would have been on. But then again, that's what they were afraid of, that big hole there. That's a crevasse. But we did have tea and honey at the top. It was a little tea house, which was nice. It was a nice experience. So, but that being said, I'm going to go back a little bit. This is what we would call a megastructure now. This is a hotel, it's a railroad hotel, but this is an influence on Snowbird. So rather than scattering stuff all over the village, it's really making a megastructure, one building, and that's important. Now here we are at Sestriere, 1932. Mussolini, you know, not a popular guy, but he was very advanced in terms of things. These were the first high-rise, multi-story buildings I'm aware of in any ski country anywhere. And they were called super silos. So the super silos had a ramp. They didn't have an elevator. So they were there in 1932, and that's a section through it. That's wild, isn't it? And what they did at night, and I told this, I was only one. No, I wasn't even one. I was not born yet, I guess, at 30. I was just born at 32. So they used to roll oranges down the ramp for fun. My guess is that Frank Lloyd Wright must have gone there, because that's looking up through the ramp, and that looks a little bit like New York's Guggenheim, doesn't it? Except it's 1932. But it's pretty cool. So, but the point is that it's multi-story building, tight, high in mountain terrain. So here we are now, 2016, Morphosis Architects in Val's, Switzerland. Proposal, and it looks like it's going to be built. That's pretty bold. So that's a big stroke, but it's a statement about what I'm about to tell you about Snowbird. So again, Banff Springs Hotel, this is where we had our honeymoon. That's just below Lake Louise. Again, a megastructure. One big statement. In the summer. This is a trip that I'd gone to Grenoble, and this is important to Snowbird as well. So now these are precedents for Snowbird, if you will. This is like a sort of non-building, if you will. It appears here that there's more building, but I have other pictures that we couldn't find. But this is actually these sod roofs, and essentially they're just sort of concrete elements that erupt out of the ground. So that was an inspiration to me. This is Le Corbusier's La Tourette, sod roofs. Again, an inspiration to me. Concrete, not glass and steel, that's the deal. Bold, strong. This is Flaine, France. This is Marcel Breuer. So Flaine was designed at exactly the same time that Snowbird was, and they're now sister resorts. But Flaine was built earlier because the Boissonnas, which is the Schlumberger Foundation and the oil people, they had the money, and we didn't have the money to raise. We didn't have the money yet. So, but at exactly the same time, 1964-65, it's when Snowbird was designed, and this is when Marcel Breuer designed Flaine. And the point here is that these were modern resorts, modern concrete, modern resorts. So if you can, obviously Marcel Breuer, and pretty bold, right? So, but what happened is that we didn't know each other. I met him later, but it was interesting that these were the first two sort of modern American resorts. And I was invited to Flaine, and got to have dinner with the Boissonnas. They have awfully good wine. I got to pick the wine. I got a Chateau, I think it was Chateau Lafite 1961. I think they said, you have very good taste in wine. Yeah, Chateau Lafite 1961, I'll say. But they had a lot of money and they had a lot of wine. But we had a good time, and but it's important to see that these are very similar. So that's Flaine. Now, here's the contrast. Here we are. We're herding goats, and we got La Minuit in the background. So here's the contrast now. There's a question. Well, what do you do in the mountains? Are we going to continue to do this indigenous quality? Whatever. I think these were particularly bad buildings. I went there and looked at them. They weren't good at all. It wasn't at all like Flaine. But at the same time, it's a kind of schism. Well, what do you do? Here we are. We have this wonderful pastoral scene. She's out herding the cows and whatever, and all of a sudden you're going to build in the Alps, in the Haute-Savoie. So here we are at La Vassée, and this is truly the indigenous architecture. And this is for you, Bradford. You said talk about houses, right? So here we are. So this is the way they did it, right? And there were no cars. You hiked there, and the roofs are not very steep. For a reason, because the steeper the roof, the worse the cornices are on the roof. The flatter the roof, the better it is in snow country. Contrary to public opinion, the best roof in snow country is flat. So these are the buildings that they did, and it's the real thing. It's quite charming, literally, but also really, I don't know, not very comfortable. I don't think the heating works too well. They don't have a thermostat, all those things. But it's really the way they built. I love this picture. Yeah. So truly, and it works in the land, doesn't it? It's beautiful. So it's a hard thing. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you design it? All right, here we go. That's what you do. Europa Highway. Wow, I almost lost my head on this one. I took pictures out of the train going over the Brenner Pass, and we went through a tunnel. Somebody pulled me in and said, God, you're going to lose your head. I ate out of the train with a Nikon camera trying to shoot this thing. And, but it's incredible, isn't it? So here's man's statement, human statement in the countryside in a bold way. There it is, another view of it. You notice that the Europa Highway isn't cut into the mountain. It's standing on elements that are free of it. So in terms of how it meets the ground, how it meets the land, you're not in there with a bulldozer cutting things apart and cutting in and filling. No, it's a ribbon. It's just a ribbon that goes through the world. Here we are now. This is Robert Maillard. Many of you should know who he is. Great bridge designer in 1920s, 1930s. I've seen many of these bridges in the Alps, and they're magnificent. So there you are. Look at that. I mean, it's magnificent, isn't it? So now here's nature. You haven't disturbed it much, and it's very bold, concrete stuff. Right? First concept for Snowbird. Didn't happen. A little too bold. Here's the idea. Snowbird is in a glaciated canyon. It's only 7 miles from the alluvial fan at the bottom. You could put a tram from down here, from where you could have the cars and not have any cars come up here. This is the stream, doesn't touch the ground. You build a great big megastructure bridge that spans the entire piece. Then you have one more tram to go to the top of the mountain, and the top of this is sod roof in the summertime, and it's a ski down on the roof in the wintertime, and you go down into your unit. It's a plug-in architecture, megastructure, boom. That's the next version. I couldn't sell it. A little too bold in 1964, 65. But you notice environmentally, here's the stream, no cars. I didn't show the tram here, but the tram comes down. Here, these are little condominiums, right? And that's the way this thing works. Spans that distance. It would have been the 8th wonder of the world. That would have made me famous. You know, that was good. But it doesn't meet the ground. Look how fabulous that is. So now, no cars. Imagine. Look, environmentally responsible? Yeah. Tramway. Dumb. So they say, you can't build a tram 7 miles. I said, there's one in Turkey that's 40 miles. 40 miles long. Of course you can build a tram. So this is the canyon. Now what I mean by a glaciated canyon, this is a glaciated canyon. This is the alluvial fan. They could have bought all this property for $1,500 an acre. It's now probably $1 million an acre or more if you could buy it. But that idea would be to put the cars and all the staging area and stuff down here, then take the tram up, go to that building, and then take the tram up, keep down, ski, done. So I couldn't sell it. But Ted Johnson was fabulous, still alive, great, talked to him all the time. He was a developer for Snowbird. And he said, Jack, you're a skier? Yeah. We skied together. He said, I got a secret. I'm going to do a ski area, but you got to swear in blood. You cannot tell anybody because I don't own all the property yet because the mining strip claims going across all this way. And I've got to buy them all before I can make it public. But I need to have you start planning it. So I had to do it in secret. So I did it in secret for over a year with a couple of students. We went in and made a model. And we had a little secret studio in Sugar House, which is just in Salt Lake. We had to climb go out on the roof and climb through the window to get in the studio because we had to close the front door so nobody would know we were doing it. It literally was a secret. So, and we did it. But he was also a great powder skier. He hit the cover of everything, I mean, you can imagine. So we called him the Silver Fox, and he was. This is Dick Bass. And Dick Bass was the money. And Dick's a mixed blessing. You know, he and I had a kind of a stormy relationship for about 10 years. But how many of you have read the 7 Summits of Dick Bass? Yeah? Yeah, I call it the Book of Lies. He said that Snowbird was his dream. No, it wasn't his dream. If it had been his dream, Snowbird would have been a series of cuckoo clocks. So we had Snowbird already designed. And Dick came in, and we started in 1964, and we put together a limited partnership to do the design work. And Dick came in, and it's a mixed blessing. You know, I liked it in some ways, and in other ways not. He brought the money. But at the same time, he also brought a lot of other baggage with him too. But it was not his dream. In the book, it says Snowbird was his dream. He didn't even know Snowbird existed until '69. It started construction in '69. So, but he did bring the money, and he did climb Everest. He was short rope though, but still, he's climbed it. Yeah, Lou Whitaker. You know Jim Whitaker? He climbed the Everest about 19,000 times. Yeah, he short roped him up there. Lou, his brother. So this is Dick on the right, and that's Ted. So here we are, though. Now we're exploring the Snowbird area. This is a better helicopter, and it didn't crash, which is good. So this is, here I am. I'm looking better. I gained a little weight from that one shot you saw. This, but not much. This is Kiley, Dan Kiley. This is Bob Smith, the Smith Goggle Optics and client and great skier, and he was one of our team. And this is the helicopter pilot. So we were up there looking at the land and trying to figure out where to put things. You can't put a lift in an avalanche area. It's going to wipe the lift out. You can't put buildings where the avalanche is going to. So we had to study all that, and that's the way we did it. This is again now back east now. So when we were raising money, Kylie said to me, "Hey Jack, you know, you don't have any money in this thing. You better come join me." So I got to work with Dan Kiley for 5 years and became his partner at the end of that thing, and that was incredible. This is Tuckerman's Ravine. Anybody know of Tuckerman's Ravine at Mount Washington? Yeah. So you ski that thing, and when the bottom's out, it's kind of testy, isn't it? So that's Dan skiing. He could ski. I took the picture, and he's skiing there. He's really good. So that's the head wall of Tuckerman's. Have you done the head wall of Tuckerman's? Yeah, it's pretty scary. It's straight up and down. So you go, oh. So I did it. I wouldn't do it again. That's the head wall. And here I am. I think I was expecting a flood. Look at the size of the... This is Kylie. So we were commissioned at the top of Mount Washington, and we didn't do anything. Look at this horrible stuff. This is the top of Mount Washington. So we were supposed to redesign it, and it went just like politics. And we designed it. Nothing ever happened. But we did get to ski. So that was where we did it at Tuckerman's. So now, here, back to helicopters. This is one that was really scary. So this is Frank Ferguson, a partner in Telekey. And here's his head, and here are these blades. You couldn't land. So I was taking this picture. I had to drop out of the helicopter, kind of a James Bond picture. Here I am hanging on the bottom of these rungs and dropped into the snow because he couldn't land. And he still couldn't land. But we dropped everybody in here, and then we set up to establish Midgad Valley Restaurant. Because we couldn't open Snowbird unless we had that place as a mid-piece because the Forest Service wouldn't let us. So this is Bob Smith, Smith Goggle, now Smith Optics. This is Ted Johnson. This is Ray Kingston, partners Snowbird Design Group and Telekey. And this is Frank Ferguson, the guy that was just jumped out of the helicopter, and I'm taking the picture. So this is what we did. We had a lot of fun doing it. I got a lot of powder skiing in, a lot of helicopter stuff all over the place. Nobody, no tracks, nothing. It was incredible. So we had the black box. We had to raise $400,000 by 20 partners at $20,000 each, and that's how we designed it. And that was Snowbird Design Group, which we put together to do that. And that was, again, prior to Bass. Make sure, prior to Bass. So, and this is the layout. So again, I feel this is where the criticism comes in. I wanted Dan Kiley didn't stay involved in Snowbird very much, but he made one huge suggestion: the skiers bridge, because it's really steep on that side of the mountain and there's no run out. So there's a skiers bridge, which is the run out. It takes you to a plaza, which is here. And the plaza, then everything is supposed to be connected to the plaza. So here's Lodge 1. Then this becomes the little element here. This is essentially Lodge 2. That moves there. Then there was supposed to be Lodge 5, which is essentially right here. And then there's the Cliff Lodge, which is up here. And I'll tell you, that's the problem. So by detaching and putting the Cliff Lodge up here was mistake one. Bad move. The idea, you get 4 feet of snow in 48 hours or 24 hours. You can't move. You can't whatever. You shouldn't have to get in a car. Now they have to get in the car to drive to here, back to here. You can't walk in 4 feet of snow. You're not going to ski at night. So that's a big mistake. And I fought with it, and I fought with it, and I fought with it, and I lost. But you can't win everything. But these are some wonderful drawings. This is the stuff. Now, this is all BC, right? Before computer. So I want you to look at the line work and the drawings in here. This is done with a ruling pen, and I didn't do them all. I did some. These are done by Gary Pickering, one of our great people. But this is a pencil drawing of Gary's. That's beautiful. Concrete, that's the Lodge 4. And these were, I think Snowbird would have been better in a way. These were very early drawings. And if you notice, there's a certain quality about this. It's not really, it's certainly not Mesian. It's not Wrightian. I don't know quite what it is. But I think this would be a wonderful scene. You know, this is the skating and nice fire. pit and walking around. We wanted a studiously modern American ski resort. Studiously modern American ski resort. And that's what Snowbird was the first modern American ski resort. Flen was the first sort of modern ski resort in Europe. So, but I think there's kind of wonderful quality to that. And again, a nice, wonderful drawing. This is by Woody Rainey. And this is the first model. By the way, this slides backwards, Tanner. It says Snowbird upside down. Right? See how it says Snowbird? Backwards. You have to be dyslexic to read that. But this is a model that we made it's out of masonite and a cutter like this, because we didn't have those magic things you have in the shop these days. So we made that model, and this was done in that office, which was secret. So, but you can still see that sort of things are scattered around a little bit. But now, this is a later model, but you can see now this is very steep terrain, and we didn't have very much of it. So these buildings follow the strike of the terrain. That's what causes this configuration. It's not just because we wanted angles, it's because we follow the strike. And so again, the tight plaza in here, and everything is contiguous, which was what it's supposed to be. And this is an earlier drawing. Again, here's Skiers Bridge, okay, tram up, and then these first buildings. These are a little bit scattered. This is not quite appropriate. Beautiful drawing, but again, we're struggling. We're trying to figure out, well, okay, what's it going to be? This is a top terminal building because it's not just the top, this tram going down to our main station, but then these are other elements that we're now doing, actually going to other places, to Sunset Peak and to the back side. So these are drawings of how would you do concrete up at the top of the mountain? Easy. You batch the plant at the bottom, and you use the tram as the thing, and as the pump, and you put it up there. You take the concrete up in the tram. It's a working tram. They do it all the time. So we could have made a concrete building on the top of the mountain quite easily. This is a gas station. Didn't get built. It's a non-building, isn't it? So you pull in, and that's just covered, and pull in and out. So then this is actually the real thing. And then the real thing. But here I want to show you that they're somewhat detached. See, so here's Lodge 1 and whatever, but then here, clear up here is Cliff Lodge. And that's what I fought against. It should have been tight right down in here. So that's not a good thing, because it makes you get in a car and drive and you can't connect. These are the shots of the plaza, under construction, top of the mountain, amazing. And then this is Ed LaChapelle. Now he's a glaciologist. Right after he worked with Monty Atwater, and he was a great glaciologist, and he worked with us on the avalanche areas. So we have to determine where can we build and where can we not build. Why is there a tram? Because we couldn't put a lift there. A lift requires too many towers. So we had to figure out the runs, which was great fun because we got to ski them, and then where can you put the tram and where can you put a lift? So that's what that involvement is, and that's the machining, the machine working. It was wonderful working with these Swiss people on doing the tramway. And then there we are in summer. And summer again. Kind of, this is a super graphics tram, get in here, right? Lodge 1. With Brixton and Christopher, we were a Snowbird design group. We did the schematics, and then Brixton and Christopher were architects of record. And then this is the Cliff Lodge, and this is BC, before computer. This is a cardboard model. That's not the real building. It looks ever so much like the real building, though, doesn't it? That's what we had to do. We make a cardboard model, photograph it, then put it into another photograph and superimpose it. You guys loved this, didn't you? Paper dolls, right? So again, we don't have Revit and Rhino and all that stuff. So what do? Well, you make a model and put a paper doll in it. And that's the plan. Yeah, it's funny, but it's kind of what we did. So here it is. No, it's a beautiful building. It's a lovely building. But Mies said, doesn't matter how well you do the wrong thing, right? So it's the right thing as a building, but it's in the wrong place. So, and this is really bad. And I'm going to not say what I said, but so I retired from Snowbird after 10 years of putting up with baths, which had to do Zen meditation every day to get through it. I said to Ray Kingston, now Ray, there are some things I never want you to do in Snowbird. You're going to be taking over the range now. I'm leaving. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to Sun Valley and whatever. I never want you to do a curtain wall. I never want you to do reflective glass. I never want you to do a black glass. I never want you to do any of that stuff. You should be able to get out on the porch and get out in the weather. He did all 10. He must have hated me. So that's mistake 2, huge mistake. All right, this is Iron Blossom. This is in the right place, and we did this, and that's a good building, I think. This is the models that we worked out for it. And this is a first staggered, this is called a staggered truss system. So I'll explain that when I get to the other picture. But basically, we can configure this. See, one element hangs from another. So it's a Verendale truss, but it's a staggered truss system. So here we go. So this one you see is bearing on that one. This one's hanging on that one, coming across and bearing on that one, etc. And there are many configurations that goes through and that take. So what do you do? Well, that can, because now housing, you can gain that space, can't you? See, so now this one borrows that space, that one borrows that space. So that's a unit, and that's a unit. Quite clever. So I think this is a very strong building. And that relates to, for Bradford, housing, is that co-housing is very similar to resort, isn't it? Because the difference is if you were to simply take the amenities and say, all right, I'm going to make a co-op for the restaurants, and that's all going to be shared, it wouldn't be too different from co-housing. This is actually a very good diagram for housing, for co-housing. Resort diagram is a very good diagram for co-housing. And you can study co-housing if you don't know what it is. That's another lesson. So it really does work. This is an axometric drawing, BC. It's drawn by hand. Side roofs, so you can see how that works. And a study for Lodge 5 in terms of, again, the staggered truss system. And the Skiers Bridge. And you can see that's just it's now actually lived in because there's offices in it. But basically you ski down, it's lovely, onto the plaza, and then from here you should be able to go anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. And that's in the summer of the same bridge. And this is a kind of wonderful shot. This is kind of like a Peter Bruegel shot, I think. So look at these people, funny little people here. I took that photograph, and it's this. We had to build this in the wintertime because we couldn't open without it being there. So that's why it's a big truss. It had to withstand 150 mile-an-hour winds, snow loads. But you notice that flat roof, there's almost no snow here. There's 10, 12 feet of snow here, none there. 18 inches, flat roof. Yeah, so it's like a big bridge, isn't it? Now there's a Mesian influence there, I guess you could see that, but it's not really glass and steel. Big, bold gusset plates. Well, here I am again. Yeah, that's when we were constructing. And I'm a slump test. You know what a slump test is? Here I am making a slump test with this guy. That's when you test and see how much water is in the concrete, see if it's going to be strong enough. And here I am over here. I've aged a bit. But there I am at that thing, and this is Huppengarner. He's a big guy. I think he's showing off a little bit there. But this is a kind of a nifty building. We had a good time with this. It's sort of engaged in the mountain. Bridge. It's a bridge. Model. The real thing, prefabricated in Oregon. Gusset plates. That's a serious connection. Inside, lived-in truss. The top of the terminal, really nice building in my view. We had nylon mats inside. You get out of the tram, put your skis on out of the weather, ski down on a nylon mat, and then out onto the slope. Would have been very, very fine. That's what they built. Awful. It's a tragedy. It's absolutely a god-awful tragedy. So this is what it could have been. That's what it is. However, skiing is not bad. This is the way Snowbird looks now. That's the ski map to this day. It's wonderful. Can you see yourself going, yeah, right. And here, high traverse, down a chute. And then this is that wrong place. This is the original building, and this is it's fancy stuff, but it's just in the wrong place, and it is black. You know, it's a black turd. Sorry, Ray, but you deserve it. It's not all bad, however. Here we are. Lovely. Can we blow this up? It's okay. So we're ranked second best ski resort in North America in 2017 by Forbes magazine. Not bad. That's kind of a nice shot. You can see it's avalanchy, huh? I'll say. And Time magazine. We hit Time magazine. Big deal. A lot of skiers now. Not the same as it used to be. We hadn't even painted it yet. See, this is all just primer. This is 12 feet of snow here. And look how that works. Now we get to the, again, back for Bradford, houses. So here we are. Look at this roof. This is for Dick Movitz, the skier I told you, 10th Mountain Division, right? Look at the roof. There's nothing in the roof, is there? There's not even a plumbing pipe. I had to get a special dispensation from the Pope of Plumbing to do this. So what you do, here the vents come out of here and they go up in that upper fascia. This is a 4 and 12 pitch, goes up that way. Nothing. Snowdrop right there, nothing there to drop it on. The garage goes in here. You look out here. Dick wanted to build this house because he trained. The first lift in the world, first ski lift in the world was Sun Valley, which is where this is, right here on this mountain. And that's where Dick trained. So that's why we did that house. But this one has an R60, R value, 60 in the wall, double wall. Didn't get much sun, so we did that. But that's a very clean roof. So that's one way to do a roof in snow country. This was the second house. This was for Bob Smith, Smith Goggles, Smith Optics. Very sort of Japanese influence, but this is an interesting structural invention. Sort of this one goes through. This was interrupted. It has a plate on the top and a knee brace. So the knee braces take all the lateral, but also they allow you to make that corner. This is a little house for the Shillingtons that sits like a little pavilion with light cannons down below. Again, flat roof. You notice how much snow there is here. Notice how much snow there is here. Different. Our own house, we had to sell this. Things got tough. Andy mentioned we go in ups and downs of economy. We sold this for $240,000. 2 years later, it was sold for $1.7 million. I think I left a little money on the table. Yeah. So that's a little too hard. Waterfall house. Again, that one's there now. It's weathered very well. Solar, passive solar, and so on. They're very happy with it. This is Polson House 1. This is a Corten roof. Again, we try to keep the roofs as clean as possible. See, again, there's a cricket behind these two elements because these are the mechanical parts, but the rest of this roof is completely clean. It's completely the antithesis of what the Yellowstone Club or the I turned down 2 commissions in Big Sky and the Yellowstone Club because the CCNRs are so awful. They require you to do everything you shouldn't do. Okay, you know, dormers, valleys, all kinds of things. It's absolutely the wrong thing to do in snow country. So they would have been nice commissions, but I'm not going to do that stuff. This is Polson 3. I did a little ski house, which is Polson 2. And this one, see, these are for, this is actually in a blue zone, avalanche blue zone. So these are to break it's not an avalanche, it's kind of like a slip. Am I doing all right time-wise, or am I out of time? Got 5 minutes? Perfect. So these are shutters. These are steel shutters, Corten. So in serious conditions, not red zone. You don't build in red zone, but blue zone. You close these, and you got these, and you hopefully are safe. And this is designed to receive. This is designed to receive an impact load, a substantial impact load laterally. So we designed it for that. This is the one that's under construction right now. And you can see that on the screen. That's on that live thing downstairs. This is the Kansan house. And it is using the Virendale truss system that I worked out, the Smith Modified Virendale truss, which gives you huge amounts of span, very, very efficient. I'm going to speed up a little bit, but this is going to be, I think, it's going to be a pretty cool house. The concrete work is beautiful. Got a very good contractor, and this will be finished in about a year, maybe a little more. It takes a long time to do this sort of thing. very good clients. The concrete, look at the concrete work. It's fantastic. Yeah, and this little house that, again, this is another way to do a roof. This is a warped roof, right? So it's a hyperbolic paraboloid in 2 directions. So Jessica worked on this with me, Jellison, and this is now just being finished. This is a shot that was taken just recently with that little warped roof. This is a small house, less than 3,000 square feet, including the garage. And the rainbow. And what's at the end of the rainbow? A pot of gold, right? Here's Bianca, age 6, my granddaughter, 13117, Bianca Taylor Smith, Sue Taylor Smith, shredding. Look at this form. Whoa, angulation, cutting edge, no sliding here. Me, in the old days, me. So, yeah, the rainbow, that's Bianca. This is Johnny, here, young, racing. This is me. And then Johnny's he's in here somewhere, Sunrise Ski School. And pot of gold. She won a gold medal in the Kinder Cup when she was 5. And this is Johnny, her teacher. And we taught Johnny to ski when he was 3, which was cool. Kind of between your legs and do all that stuff, right? And here she is. She won the silver medal when she's 6. So now she's won a gold and a silver. Hot skier. And that's it. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Thank you. So skiing does run through it, baby. Can you take this thing off me? Yeah. Oh, questions, I guess. That's all right.
Well, yeah, so we do have a reception for Jack downstairs at the exhibit. So thank you, Jack, very much for your time. And
anybody wanted to ask
we have
questions, certainly,
any questions here? Or certainly Jack will be available for questions.
anything? I thought you were going to ask me about something, aren't you? Jaffe, you were going to ask me some weird question.
No, I didn't have any questions. Okay. Jack, do you want to talk a little bit about Kylie's office?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dan Kiley, I was teaching half-time at the University of Utah and working for Brixton and Christopher half-time. And Dan came to lecture at the school, and